So today we're messing around with the new ASM Hydrasynth. This is a brand new synth. It's a brand new synth company as well. Although the parent company to ASM has been around actually for many decades, the brand ASM is new. And they've got a very fresh approach. If you listen to the sounds this thing makes, it is unlike any other synthesizer, and it is unashamedly digital. It's not an analog synth at all. It's totally digital sound engine. Although it has kind of analog sounding filters, it's a wavetable synth at its heart. And wavetable synths are not a new idea, but the way that the ASM Hydrasynth works is pretty unique. And what you do, you've got 219 wavetables. They're like little slices of sound. And then the Hydrasynth allows you to combine and smash these together and blend between them and animate them in just like the most insane amount of different ways. So for example, on a lot of the wavetable synths, you would have a wavetable where you turn a dial and it scans between a set. But on the Hydrasynth, you can actually create your own sets. So you take the 219 waveforms and you blend through in the way that you would like, up to 8 of these. And that is so easy to do with the interface. So if you look at the front panel, if you look carefully, you can see those little buttons which are designed to let you jump between function blocks. So there's all of these powerful functions, but all you have to do is just push the little function block and it will leap you straight to that section. And if you look on the interface, you have those 8 dials and the little screens. Those just update instantly and tell you what parameters you have available. So although there are lots and lots of functions, there's lots of things it can do, it's only ever a button or 2 push away to get to the function you want, so you never get lost. The synth's 8 voice, but each voice is ridiculously powerful. So the voices, if we break down what they can be made up of, you've got 3 oscillators. Now, 2 of these are the kind of super wavetable oscillators where you've got the 219 waveforms to build from and you can create the blended versions. But if you look carefully on the panel, you'll see that there's a mutant control next to those 2. And the mutant control is like a kind of modifier, and you can get all manner of other processes applied to these oscillators, like pulse width modulation and FM synthesis. There is a whole laundry list of mutations that are possible, and each mutation completely transforms that wavetable. So you're picking your wavetables, you're scanning between them, and then you're mutating that scanned new waveform that you've created. And there are 2 blocks for the first 2 oscillators. So you've just got this insane depth in terms of what you can create, these very wild timbres that can change from one thing to a completely different sound, something you've never heard before. And then the 3rd oscillator is a simpler single cycle wavetable, which you can use to kind of fatten up the sound. You've got a mixer, and then you've got 2 filters. So they kind of sound analog. They've got a kind of analog sound, but then there's some classic ones based on synths that you'll know, like the Oberheim SEM, for example. And then there's formant filters and sort of odd, strange versions where you can get like vowel-y sounds and peculiar tones. And then in terms of modulation, that's where things get completely bananas, because you've got all of these sound parameters, but you've got 5 LFOs and you've got 5 envelope generators. And so you've just got this just mad amount of modulation possibilities. You can then send those LFOs and envelopes to control pretty much anything in the sound engine that you would like to. And you've got 32 slots of modulation that you can use up. And just make it so that when you play a sound and when the sound plays out, that it just morphs and sort of evolves in these really crazy evocative ways. And if you listen to the sound, you'll hear that this synth is just, it doesn't have just one trick. It has an almost infinite amount of tricks, because there's just so many different ways that you can combine waveforms, that you can morph and evolve and express with them. And then this is all, like, not even to talk about the physical interface. We mentioned that you've got the 8 dials, but the amazing thing is there's two models, and the keyboard that is in the keyboard version is ASM's own design, and it is a poly aftertouch keyboard. And this is a big deal because it means that every single key you press, when you've pushed the key right to the bottom, you can push it a little bit harder and you get this extra layer of control. And because it's a polyphonic aftertouch keyboard, that means that every single note of a chord that you hold down, you could push each note differently. And that means that you can express, each note can be expressed and lent into and articulated. And of course, you can use that layer of pressure to control like any of the parameters in the synth. So suddenly there's this kind of, you know, with your hands, you can morph the sound in a completely unique way. And interestingly, there is a desktop version. And the desktop version is exactly the same in terms of the sound engine. There is no difference. The only difference is obviously the desktop does not have the keyboard, but actually the desktop has pads, and the pads are polyphonic aftertouch capable. And you can set up scales on those pads so that you can never hit a wrong note. And then to top it off on the keyboard, which I love, and if you love the CS80, you'll get the reference, but there's a ribbon that runs across the whole keyboard where you can touch the ribbon and play and create lovely kind of glissando, sort of theremin-like sounds. And actually what's really cool is when you're playing the keyboard, if you set it up, you can accompany yourself with the ribbon. So you can kind of play along with the ribbon while you play the keyboard. It's really cool. So finally, the question is like, what is the Hydrasynth best at? You know, who is it for? And I think, you know, it can make very, very impressively analog sounds, but personally speaking, what I think it excels at, what I love most about it is its ability to just go to completely new realms of sound, like icy, sort of glassy, really like gnarly animated tones where you hold down a key and there's just all of this stuff just happening around you. It is amazing for that, for pads and for strange leads, for effects and sort of everything else, you know. I think it's just amazing. I genuinely think it sounds incredible. And I think hopefully you can hear that from the videos. One thing I really want to highlight as well is the effects, because there are multiple effects blocks and the effects are world class. I would genuinely say they are beyond what you would expect from an, you know, inbuilt synth effect. And they really become part of many of the sounds as you play around and you're playing with the reverb, the hall, and there's like a cloud reverb built in. There's some really nutty stuff, phasers and chorus. Those effects are just intrinsically linked to the quality of the sound, I think, and I want to use them whenever I play around with this thing, quite honestly. So if you're curious to check out the Hydrasynth for yourself, head over to the Gear4music website and please check it out. Thanks so much.